Hey everyone, Michelle Markey with Medina Domestic Arts Studio. So every single time I bring this shirt, as you can see, there is somebody multiple times over who wants to buy this shirt. Now, when I first started putting this shirt out, it was just strictly to show you what you could do with this pattern. And I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see that this is stitched. All of this has got bling on it, but all of this was originally stitched. Okay, and I'm going to flip this over here real quick and show you the front and the back at the same time. So you can see it's stitched. And then this was just an afterthought. I just threw this on there just because, hey, I'm from Texas and why not? So many people have requested this shirt. And so I've decided that I'm going to start carrying a limited number of the shirt, but this is done as a DTF. So this video is going to be about how to color, number one, with a DTF on denim, and just in general how to color. Now you can see I've started it already. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do an entire video. I just can't. This would take forever and a day, and you would get so bored. But what I am going to do is show you the highlights on how to color the butterfly, the flower, the bluebonnets, and I will show you how to completely color the hummingbird. So stay tuned, and I'll get started on this, and I hope that some of you will stop by the booths as I'm going to be on the road quite a bit over the next few months, and hopefully I will have your size in this. If not, or if the shirts don't fit you, I'm going to provide the DTF available for sale so that you can put this on the back of your own shirt. Stay tuned. Okay, everyone, here's what we're going to do here on this. I cannot get this entire thing in the screen based on what I've got set up here. It's just too big. So we're gonna just do the top. But as you saw, this is the pattern that I normally have stitched out on white that everybody and their brother has wanted to buy for the last several years. And finally, I have created a DTF that I think looks really good on the back of a denim shirt. Now, this is my own pattern. I will sell the DTF. There is a gray area, and I'm, full disclosure here. The bluebonnets themselves are from Embroidery Library. Now, I have gone back and looked at their website. I can't find anywhere where doing something like this is wrong. But, if they come back to me and say, whoops, you're not supposed to be doing stuff like that, this may all go away. I have been hesitant for this reason, but I have tried to study their website as much as possible to try to determine what my legal situation would be, and I think I'm okay. Like I said, having said that, however, should something change, then, I'll have to pull this as something available to purchase. So, without further ado, let's talk about how to go about coloring. And I'm pulling out some pens right now. That's what you hear rustling around in the background. I am going to say that the best thing you could do for something like this is to use acrylic markers. And that's what I'm pulling out right now. And I'm getting the blue ones. And I'm also looking for some green for the hummingbird. Let me get a couple of dark greens. Now, the other thing that would be very good to use on here is acrylic paint. All of which, given that it's acrylic, must be coated with fabric medium and then heat set. And given how much I've played around with this stuff, some people have asked me, well, could I put the fabric medium down first? No, I don't think so. I think you have to put the fabric medium over where you colored. And I'm going to suggest that you're going to want to put your coloring down first, let it dry, and then go back over it later after everything is dry so that you don't run the risk of smearing it with the fabric medium. Not that it would, not that it could, but I'm always trying to gear myself towards the safe side. Okay, now I am not going to color this entire thing. The instructions that are currently out there for the white version, or the version that is stitched out on white, personally, I'm going to follow those exact same instructions, except I'm doing them with acrylic markers. And I'm so far behind on my instructions right now, frankly, I don't really see the necessity of doing this as a set of instructions. But as always, if somebody actually cries hard enough to me and pulls at my heartstrings, yes, I will consider doing the instructions. But as far as coloring, I'm going to try to cover this stuff up here because then the rest of it is just repetitive down below. Let me make sure I've got enough greens here. Now I'm pulling out several different manufacturers. You know, I know you guys have seen, I do things with Arteza. I like these markers. These cheap Chinese markers, I can't beat them. I'm looking to make sure that there's no other ones. But I think this is a kind of a catch as catch can as far as which are the best ones and which ones should I use. Well, you know, it's a toss-up, really, really is. And I say that because so many of these markers are made inconsistently. So I'm going to show you what I use, you know. Where's the name on this manufacturer? Guangna. Temu's a good place for these. Arteza, again, honestly, you know, in fact, I think I'll start out with these so I can show you how easy they work. Now, here's the other thing about coloring on denim. You notice that this is a rather light denim. I'm going to suggest, particularly for your first ones, that you're going to stick with something like this. Mainly because denim or dark fabric has a tendency to absorb the color super easily. And so you may find yourself needing to put on, particularly when I'm going to use the yellow, or here in the butterfly, which I'm going to do in pinks and purples, you may find, in fact, let's just start out and do a quick test here on the butterfly. By the way, these do have two different tips. And the round one, I will use this occasionally if the space is big enough, but frankly, I'm going to stick with the small end for the moment. Now, let me just see if I need to zoom in here. Let's see if I do. Yeah, let me scooch this over just a bit. And now you can see that butterfly up there. Okay, great. Let me smooth this out. I have this on a foam board, by the way, and that's what I would suggest in going forward and using this. Now, here's the best part. This is all you're going to do. Now, I don't know that I mentioned this as first, but let me reiterate. This is a DTF. This can be stitched out. I think if any of you have seen my shirt at shows, you will know that I did it originally as a stitched out version. I am willing to do that for anyone who wants to send me a shirt. The problem is with my shirts is I cannot guarantee the size, and I would have to have you pay for it up front. And I don't know that that's all that fair, but it's not fair for me to get stuck with a shirt either. So I think the best alternative that I came up with is this. Now, I will be selling a few shirts at shows already done. You can come to the show, try it on. If it fits, you like it, great. Take it home with you. But I also sell the DTFs themselves. So just know that those are your options. Now, let's start talking about how to color this as I'm doing it. One of the things about denim is it's got a very thick weave, and you get up close to any denim, you'll see this to be the case. So you're going to need to probably go over that several times. But you see how nice acrylic markers work. This is why you want to use them. Now, maybe I'm going to come down here and paint this end pink as well. Again, I'm trying to stay fairly close to the colors that I already used on the white version, and that's the version that's on the back of my shirt. This has been a very popular class over the years. I have taught this multiple times. I could probably do it in my sleep, but I will confess that I haven't done it on denim too much. Maybe one other time besides my shirt. So this is maybe going on the third time. So there you go. I mean, that's it right off the bat. Pretty easy peasy. Now I can hear people saying, yes, Michelle, but how do you go about blending? Great, let's move on to that. Let me find, these are a couple of darker pinky rosy pins. So let's go ahead and start right here. And I'm putting down this pink, okay? And now here's where it's going to get a bit tricky. Now these lines, these black lines are pretty thin. If you think you have gotten onto the line while it's still wet, this is my all-time favorite tools. These are, they're either calling dot tools or nail art tools. They're on Amazon. I've got a link in one of my videos. I'll try to remember to post a link in this one. You can get these for under 10 bucks, a whole set of them. And I'm gonna just come in here and kind of go over, oops, it's already dry. And this is the problem that you're gonna run into with DTFs. They are, rather, excuse me, acrylic markers. They dry really fast. Okay, so hang tight. Let me show you what you do. You grab yourself a black marker. Make sure you put the cap on the other one because I'm really good about letting my pins dry up. Okay, where I got on there, I'm just gonna ever so carefully go over it. Oops, that one's a bad pin. I need to throw this out. Let me see. Oh, nope, the other side's bad too. That is an issue with these markers. You know, they just go bad. It's one of the reasons I'm reluctant to carry a whole lot of them is because they do have a tendency to dry out and then I'm stuck throwing them away, and that's just throwing away money as far as I'm concerned. All right, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm just going over with a permanent black marker and redefining my lines again. And of course, when you heat set, that will take care of that. So keep a black marker close by. Back to shading now. So now I'm gonna switch over, let's see, I think that was the one I was using. Let me pull out this one and I'll be able to tell right off the bat. Ah, yeah, right. Now, just as if I were using a fabric marker, I'm just gonna come in and kind of put some small little strokes into the other colored area and just come again along the lines and go kind of into the grain of the fabric. And that's it. So see, you can see a little bit of blending there. It's not gonna be as distinct as it is on white fabric. So don't be disappointed. You can do it. You just need to probably use stronger contrasting colors than I am here with this butterfly, which I will here in just a second. So let me get some of this down. I'm gonna be using the black pen on this a lot. This actually is, this shirt, I'm gonna probably get it done over the next few weeks because I'm taking this shirt on the road with me as I do demos at quilt shows here this fall, because I want people to be able to see this. A lot of people have been asking about this, and I think sometimes it's just easier. I know videos are great, but I think sometimes it's just a lot easier to see it in person. Okay, let's just finish this down here. Now, I'm gonna also suggest too that when this dries, you're gonna go back and go, oh my God, I know I colored over that. Yes, you did, but the denim is so absorbing the color. I mean, I can even see it as I sit here. So now let me pull over something to give you some really good contrast because I think this will look cute on this butterfly and I don't mind doing it. So I'm pulling over a definitely purple pin and just in the little tip, see, oh, that looks good. that looks real good. Oh, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come down here and put it down here in the body. Now, I'm just gonna put a little bit of that. Do you see how dark that is? That's gonna be the other issue with denim. The color that looks light on white is gonna look a whole heck of a lot darker when you put it on denim. That is, again, the nature of the beast. Let me grab a dark purple now. Come in here, I'm going to put, oops. Be careful, by the way, I don't know if you can see that, but there is fuzz goobers at the ends. Make sure you pull those off. That will get in the way and cause havoc. And I'm just coming in and putting a little bit of that dark purple. Oh, this looks good. Oh yeah, I sing on the video when I'm happy. It's been a good summer, y'all. Thank you for all your support. If I haven't said it to you in person, you have made life good for me. And both my online folks and the folks who show up for my shows and the folks who take my classes, I love you. Thank you so much for all your support. I want to get that in because sometimes I think I forget to. Okay, so there, woohoo, look at that, butterfly, done. And what I would probably do now is let that dry. Don't mess with it. Don't even go in and do the body. Let that dry. Now let's move on to the bluebonnets. Now, you saw the pattern. This pattern's got a ton of bluebonnets in it. It also has these yellow flowers. Actually, let's move to yellow flowers because there's one where I think you're gonna really want to color over several times. So let me get that one in the screen a little bit more. In fact, let me see if I can really, bear with me here. You know how this is. I'm gonna just scooch this back. Oops, wrong way. I wanna scooch this so that that yellow flower is in full view of the, yeah, there we go, excellent. It's off to the side a bit, but you'll get the point. And then that way too, it'll give me a close-up of this, and then we'll get over to the hummingbird. Because really, what I'm doing are the hardest parts first. If you can get through the hardest parts, the rest of this is just simply repetitious. And I'm also pulling out a brown because here in Texas, our little daisies like that, first of all, they have a little brown head. So I'm gonna come in here, I'm making this as realistic as possible. Oh, that looks good. Now what I would do here, just to add a little interest, is I've got my bright yellow, and while that's still kind of wet, just put in, oh yeah, oh, that looks good. Just a tiny bit in the corner like that. See, so that gives it just a nice little bit of shading. Now, I like to start out with, this is kind of in reverse, is what we do on white, but I always start with the lightest colors first and work towards the darkest. And you're gonna see why here in a minute. It's the easiest way to blend when working on denim. Oh golly, that looks good. You know what? Okay, just so y'all know, whenever I color these, I always color them in my size so that if I end up losing my shirt or something happens to it, I've got another one to replace it if I need to. And so many people have tried to buy my shirt. And this is why I'm doing this, is because so many people want this. And I'm flattered by that, by the way. Very flattered. Okay. Wow, that looks pretty good. Now, I have this orange here. So I think what I'm going to come in and do is just maybe along the vein, just ever so slightly put in a bit of orange. Uh-oh. Well, nope, there it comes. Now, here's something, and I did it here, and now you get to see the other tool in action if I can find where I put it. Now this is, there we go. All right, there is some thread along there, some black thread. Now, it looks like it got pretty colored. And once again, as these dry so fast, that's already dried. So again, I would come in with my little black pen, overcolor there, and put a little bit of black there. So this is how it goes with denim. Now back to putting a little orange. Let's see if we can put just a tiny bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Now there's some shading for you. That looks great. That makes me very happy. Yeah, this is, I forgot. You know, I primarily do white. I don't do a whole lot of any other color, mainly because the blocks that sell are primarily the ones that are done on white. But when I start coloring on denim again, I forget how much I enjoy it. All right, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to work with these blue bonnets and a little bit of the stem right there. So let's start with the stem because actually that's pretty darn easy. I'm gonna look for a green. Now, that's a great green, but this pen, let me just show you. Oops. There we go. Can you see how kind of gloopy it is? That's very gloopy. Juicy, gloopy, yucky. It's going to make a mess. So I'm not going to use this one. That is going to be a problem with acrylic markers. They can leak. So just make sure I keep them. Here, I'm going to show you real fast. I keep them in one of these boxes. You know what these boxes are. We've all got them in our quilting studio. And I always leave them horizontal so that they don't, the color doesn't go all to one end. So I'm looking for a dark green, which doesn't look like I have, but that's okay. I'm gonna probably just go ahead and try one of these color greens and let's just see what it looks like. Starting with, actually I'm gonna do the little tops now. You know, how many of y'all have argued with me about what a blue bonnet has? And I always think that those very, very, very top tips are kind of yellow greenish. I don't think they're blue. I think as they age, they become blue, but this one's right in its peak of bloom. All right, that looks good. Now the stem again, I've got this green. It's kind of a Kelly green. It may not be the color I really want, but that's all right. And that is going to be a dilemma. Most of these pens come in limited colors, which then if you really, 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 really want it looking ideal, that's when you'll have to switch over to paints. And I'm not here to talk about paints right now because I really, really, really want you, if you're going to be coloring this, I want you to focus on using these acrylic markers first. There's a lot of small space. For most of you, this will be your first time. And look, this is on the back of a shirt. You will have paid for the shirt. You will have paid for the design. Why run the risk of ruining it by using paints that could just get all over the place? So try to stick with these. These are really your best bets. By the way, just so you know, there is no boo-boo pin for working on denim the way there is on white. So be very careful. All right. Now I've got several blue pins here. Let's just kind of lay these across. So it's kind of light, medium, and dark. Start with the light. And again, come up here. Oops, let me move that one out of the way. And you're just gonna color. All right. Ooh, good blue bonnet color. Really nice blue bonnet color. Yeah, I like that a lot. See how easy this is? This is what painting on fabric is all about. I mean, you know, there's some super fantastic artists out there, and I know you probably all go onto YouTube and you find these videos and these people are just artists to the max. That's not my shtick here. My shtick is helping you do something fun and creative, kind of actually practical, bringing art into your everyday world by coloring on your quilts and on your clothing, and doing it in such a way that is enjoyable and fun and easy. Okay, now I'm going to kind of do a couple more of these, then I'm going to show you what we're going to do a tiny bit of shading. All right, oh, that really looks great. I am very happy with that. Let's put that one just right there next to the hummingbird. Now we're gonna come in with the darker one. And first of all, you see these little eyes? Definitely they need to be darker. That's just the nature of the bluebonnet. In fact, some people would argue they should be purple. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's throw in a little bit of purple from the purple we used earlier. You can put in a tiny bit right there on top. And that gives it kind of that nice shade that I think everybody expects out of a purple-eyed bluebonnet. Then for the rest of these, particularly some of these here in the back, just here at the base, I'm just putting in a little bit of the darker blue just to give it some depth. And if that isn't dark enough for you, which it might not, grab your other dark blue and try putting it on. See, now that works. Now, you may be saying, well, I really want to blend that. Okay, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm grabbing some fabric medium, grabbing a very icky-licky paint palette. I've been busy trying to get ready for shows, so everything's a mess around here. Fabric medium in the little paint palette there, and let me grab a small brush. Really nice small scrubby brush. Let me find them. I go through them like water. But that's really what you're gonna need. Ah, here we go, perfect. All right, so a small scrubby headed brush like this. Now I just put that down there and it's probably starting to dry, but I can go over that right this minute, and you see how it's blending those colors together? So jump on the bandwagon. If you want to do this, you can blend. And you are setting the color at the same time because you're putting it on with, you're doing the blending with the fabric medium. So that's why you might want to use fabric medium before you actually coat everything. So that's the bluebonnets, okay? So you've got that. Now let's talk about Mr. Hummingbird over here. He's a bit of a booger, I won't deny it, because he's big and I know you're gonna wanna make him look realistic. Let me get all these colors out of the way so I can focus on just the greens. And he also kind of has a beigey, buffy looking grayish belly. So probably the very first thing I'm going to do is grab a hold of something like this. And this is where I'm going to use the fat end. And I'm going to kind of go ahead and get his belly done first. Leave his neck. We all know that the neck color for this, he's always a male, by the way. If it were a female, yeah, you'd go ahead and color the rest of it in a kind of a gray buffy color like I'm doing right now. You don't have to go too hog wild with this. Now on my shirt, when I did this, I actually, and by the way, you can put a tiny bit here, although primarily it's light green, but he has a tiny bit of that right in there. Oh, there, I just got a little bit on the thread. I'll come back and clean that up here in a minute. All right, so you start out with kind of the lightest area first. Then the next thing I would do is I would come over with my kind of limeish green. And first area I want to do is kind of this area right underneath his feet. I'm laying down the big color first, what I'm calling kind of my base layer first. And then I know his little head, when the sun is shining on it, it's always got a kind of a lighter spot than the rest of it. Then, and let me pull this down so we can see this just a little better. Let me make sure it's still in the camera. By the way, where I'm looking, I can't see my camera, so I have to stand up and look in and make sure. Up. Let me pull that over just a tidge so he is front and center, and get him up a little more. Shoot. So I'm gonna have to take this out slightly. Okay, I think you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. If not, you're gonna have to probably use your own camera to zoom in because there's just no way for me to get him in while I'm coloring. Okay, so we're back to using this light green. And where his body is, you're kind of, and his top wing, you're gonna kind of wanna put just a little bit of light highlight. And I might even carry that down into where what I'm calling the buff area is. All right, and maybe a tiny bit here on the wings. Now, it depends on the hummingbird species, and I'm not gonna get into that. I do that in class, and I know I cause people to have their eyes roll up in the back of their head, so don't listen to me when it comes to talking about hummingbird species, because I can go off the deep end with that. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm bringing over a different green. I wanna start laying the foundation for the back wing. Now here's where you got to be careful. You're going to want to use that nice big fat tip because it does a great job, but you don't want to hide the threads either. So start laying that down over where you've colored. Again, the key here is to build up layers so that it looks blended. And then I'm going to kind of come down the body with this color. Maybe back up here around his head. And down this way and through his tail. Again, this is just more building up the overall color of green, so he has kind of a nice effect. And then let me get just a little bit more back in here. Now his back wing is really going to want to look quite dark green. So we'll look at that here in just a minute. Now, let me see if I have a really nice, this is going to have to almost go towards a teal, and I hate doing that, but there's really no, in the acrylic marker world, it's hard to find a really good teal, or rather, excuse me, an olive green. I don't know why, but they just don't seem to make it. So with that, let's go ahead on with this other green, because I want to start getting the depth of the green kind of in there. And then I may have to pause the video and go get some acrylic paint, because this is just too light. It looks good. And again, you can put all sorts of green on here, but at some point in time, you're going to say, wait a minute, that's way too light for a hummingbird. And you would be right. So I'm just putting a little bit down here. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you up front, so when you come back, you're not surprised. One of the best greens that I've used on hummingbirds in the past on denim is Jacquard's metallic olive green. So I'm going to pause the video real quick, and I'm going to go grab some of that, and then we'll finish this little guy up, and then we'll color his throat. Hang tight. Okay, so let me show you real quick. This is the small container of it. It is the metallic olive green. It does come in larger containers, but this is in the Exciter pack. I sell it. It's part of the Lumiere family of samples that they sell. So here's what you're going to do here. You're going to get yourself a paint pot and put a little in. Now, that's really thick. Always is. I love Jacquard, but I always think their paint is too thick. So I'm going to kind of bring over a few drops of my fabric medium, and I'm going to mix this up so it'll thin it down a bit. It just will go on so strong if I don't do this, and it'll be hard to control. In fact, I think I need some more. It's really super thick. You know, paints, everything that is liquid eventually does and can go dry. I've had so much of my stuff now for literally years. I mean, it can last forever. Well, it can't last forever, but it can last a long time. But eventually it will do what it's doing here, which is thickening up over time. So in the case of most acrylic paints that are thick, putting in a few drops of fabric medium does two things. One, it thins it down, just like what you see here. But the other nice thing about this is that it's now mixed with a fabric medium. You won't have to go over it later. Now, that brush is just too, let's see if I can get this where you can see it. Yeah, it's just kind of too yucky, grody. Like I told you, all my brushes are this way. So in order to get something that I can control better, I'm going to find a nice brand new brush. Perfect little head there. I love these little scrubbers. And let's use this to apply this nice dark green. And I'm going to start with the very back. When I'm working on denim, I do want to make sure I'm extremely careful. Jacquard is opaque. It will definitely cover up the thread if I paint on it. Oh, that's looking good. So now I'm just spreading that over. I really want the tips to be quite dark. It might even behoove me later on to put a tiny bit of black. I mean, we've all looked at hummingbirds. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that if people love this shirt, it's usually because they have had hummingbirds in their backyard. And hummingbirds actually have quite a bit of gray on them, at least the species that we have. See, I knew I was going to end up talking about them. I'm an addict when it comes to hummingbirds. They are my all-time favorite bird. Between living in Colorado and here in the Texas Hill Country, I have put out many a feeder for the hummers that come into my yard. All right, now that's looking much better. I am very happy with that. And whether you know it or not, the blending of having the lighter greens below it actually helps provide a shaded look. So what you're going to continue doing, work that back wing first, being very careful. Again, not to cover up the thread. There's a tiny bit of acrylic paint that'll probably need to be covered up later, but I'm not going to worry about it right this minute. You know, this is really kind of your first layer. As I said, you'll want to let this, really what I like to do is let these dry overnight, come back in the morning when it's lighter outside and get an idea of what needs to be fixed. Okay, again, I see I have covered up some of my black with the acrylic markers, which I'll need to come in and fix. But again, I'll wait until this is all completely dry and I've got this green down. Really going on nice. I have to say I'm quite pleased with how this looks. You don't want to be too heavy-handed with your paint. You want to try to put on as light a layer as possible because, again, you don't want to cover up all those areas. And you want to try to get into all these little kind of winglet feather parts right here. And I can tell I'm covering up quite a bit of the black, but it's just the way it is. And even with thread, it's a bit of an issue too, particularly when you're using this Jacquard Lumiere. Being completely opaque, it can hide even the black thread that I use from the sewing machine. All right, now what I'm doing is going ahead and overcoating. Boy, this is just turning out so good. I can't begin to tell y'all. So maybe this is definitely the way to do it. You know, put the acrylic lighter greens down first and then follow up with the Jacquard Lumiere. Now, you can buy it individually in a bottle. It'll come in a 2¼ ounce bottle. And let's just put ever so slightly. I don't want to lose his light head with it shining down on there. Mix in just a tiny bit there. Make sure you don't touch the neck. That's for red or purple, depending on, and I know most people use red because most of y'all are used to ruby throats. In our neck of the woods, we get actual black chins, which are purple-throated. They're my favorites because of that beautiful purple thread. And then you have to get in just the right sunlight in order to be able to see it. All right. Just finishing up here, a little bit on the tail. Now I'm gonna break the rules here. I'm gonna keep the tail green. If we were doing this on white, you know, I have everybody use charcoal gray to come down here and put a little bit of gray on that. Oop, I see a spot up here I missed. Now there are tons of spots, I can tell. I mean, I can look at this and see, I'm sure you might be able to see it too. In fact, let me see where we are here. You're kind of zoomed in, but let's zoom in even more. So see, even, you know, first of all, I've covered it up right there, but you can still see a little bit of the denim through here. I really do suggest, plus you can see a bit of the lighter green showing through. You're gonna wanna let this all dry, then come back over with the Jacquard paint. And in that case, when you need to cover something up, use it full strength if you can, not diluted with the fabric medium, okay? So let's just, again, come in here. If I try to come in and just put a little bit more green down. Sitting here with the hummingbird. Now I'm gonna put just a spot of the full-on Jacquard metallic green, the olive, and this back one in, there we go. So you can see as I apply let me make sure that you can see this. Yes, you can. As I apply that darker olive green, and see there it covered up that little spot. So, but it's thick. It's very, very thick. So you want to get your base coat down that's mixed with fabric medium first, and then come in and do this. Now I'm going to stop there. That pretty much gets the hummingbird. Let me zoom back out again. He's just about done. You know, come in down here in the tail, put some more of the full non-diluted Jacquard paint in. If you are interested in learning more about Jacquard paints, I can't recommend enough watching Helen Godden, Godden. She's out of Australia. The woman is a phenomenal artist. She has used Jacquard Lumiere paints on black fabric on a consistent basis, and she does beautiful, beautiful artwork with it. Now I just covered up the black there, so we'll, again, know that we'll have to go back over it with a black pen. And I know one of you who have seen my shirt, you've never paid a whole lot of attention, but I would say almost half of the stitching was originally covered up with paint, and I had to go back over it with a black marker, Fabrico marker, to get it to stand out. Okay, now let's do this. The red. And this time I'm going to use, let's see, let me check it first. Yeah, I'm going to use this. This is Arteza, because I do want you to see how to use these particular varieties of pens. They're thicker, but they just have a whole lot more ink in them. The one thing I can suggest, if you would like, is once this is all completely dry, if you look at my shirt or some of the other things that I've done with this is, of course, I put a lot of bling here on the throat to really spiff him up, or you can use glitter pen. I don't have one handy that's red. But leave a comment below and I will fill you in on that. The main thing here with this is to show you that working on denim isn't that hard. particularly if you are using acrylic markers. There are times when you will need acrylic paint, mainly because it's a color issue. So I hope this helps. I know it's not a full-blown tutorial about the entire thing. I feel like at this point in time, most people could handle this, but I certainly realize that there may be those out there who would like some additional help. You know, just please let me know in the comments. And what I will do is, based on your questions, I will come back in with another video to answer those questions and to show exactly what to do if, for instance, if you have certain issues or you don't understand how to color something. I would be more than happy to do that. But I think what I don't want to do is drone on and on and on and bore everybody to tears, and good Lord knows some of my videos definitely do that. So there you have it. Coloring on denim, coloring my Texas wildflower pattern that is a DTF on the back of a denim shirt. These will eventually be available on my website, but currently I am only selling them at shows and at guilds. If you want one, you can send me an email, send me a text through my website, but honestly, it's very hard for me to bang these out. They do take a bit of time. So you would need to give me 2 to 3 weeks if you want one that desperately. It's just going to take me a while to get to it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got something out of this video. So this is an addendum because I went ahead and finished him up. And I actually covered his little beak with black, and then I came in with a black marker, and let me just zoom in a couple of places. You know, up there on the wing, he had some on his back wing, definitely had it all over these parts down here. So that's and you know, you're gonna look at this and you're gonna say, well, I can still see denim. But you know what? We're also looking at this about 10 inches from the bird itself. If I were to draw this out all the way out like that, now all of a sudden, and I'm now about 2.5, 3 feet above the bird, you can't hardly tell one way or another whether there's bits and pieces of denim still available to see. So again, this was just a, you know, quick and easy and not meant to be the full-blown tutorial. Again, if you need that, you know, just holler at me. But hopefully in the meantime, this will give you enough to get started. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Holler at me if you have any questions.